Yeah. Good evening and welcome to the Board of Zoning Appeals for Monday, April 7th, 2025. The first item on our agenda is the determination of a quorum. If our secretary will please take the roll.
Mr. Crowley?
Here.
Mr. Hanlon?
Here.
Mr. Tucker?
Here.
Mr. Cooper?
Here.
Mr. Powell? Absent. Ms. Horner here. Ms. Narduzzi?
Here, we do have a quorum. Thank you very much. Looks like the next item, which we are a little bit late on just because we haven't had any meetings this year, is the election of our officers for 2025. Do we have any nominations or recommendations?
I nominate to keep the same officers we currently have.
I'll second that.
And you know who you are. Okay, we have a nomination and a second.
So that was Bill and
That was
Terry.
Bill and
Okay.
Terry. Yeah. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. At the beginning of each meeting, we do allow time for public participation. This is not a time to speak. In terms of the cases, we do only have one of our case, we do only have one of our cases present tonight, so so basically our audience is relatively thin. The next item on the agenda is old business, and that would be our minutes from our last meeting of December 16th, 2024. There were some minor changes made to it. I think they were noted by staff. And if we can have a motion regarding those corrected minutes, please.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those minutes are accepted. Thank you very much. As I stated, we do have just 2 items on the agenda this evening. I am going to skip to case BZ 25-003. Our applicants are Jeff and Cheryl Thomas of 201 Birkdale Court. The variance request is to the minimum front yard setback in order to construct an addition that would be approximately 17 feet from the front property line. Can we have a staff report, please?
Yeah, applicants want to build an addition, roughly 14 feet wide, 32 feet deep, would be located on the south side of the building. Here's an aerial showing the house in question. To do that, though, again, the addition I think would line up with the existing front wall of the house. But to do this addition, they do require a variance because the new addition would only be about 17 feet from the front property line. But there are some unusual circumstances with the property that kind of bring about this request. The first is that although the standard setback in an R2 district is 50 feet, this development was approved as part of the Westchester Land Unit Development, and it established 25-foot setbacks for the properties on Birkdale Court. And here's kind of a copy from the plat, and I've kind of outlined the 25-foot front building line. So the code already reduced that variance. But the second unusual circumstance is that the court itself is pretty short. And you can see the applicant's property right about the midpoint. The front property line shifts. It goes to the north because of the bulb of the cul-de-sac. So you can see I roughly sketched in where that addition would go. It's pretty close to scale. And obviously that southwest corner of the house would not comply. Obviously, had this been a standard rectangular lot, wouldn't be an issue. But it's because of the fact that the house is partly on the cul-de-sac bulb, makes complying impractical. I think the other option is that along the north side of the property line, and you can see it a little bit better with this. Let me zoom in one more. The garage itself is located on the north property line of the house. So that makes it kind of an impractical location for this addition in order, in trying to integrate it into the house itself. That garage would get in the way. So this appears to be about the best spot on the lot to make that addition. So, and then finally, I would point out is, and I'm going to go back to the aerial, which is a little clearer. The property does abut common open space to the south. So the nearest home is roughly 93 feet away. So this reduced setback isn't going to create any issues or encroachments on the neighbors. It's still 17 feet behind the sidewalk, so that's going to put it about 25, 30 feet away from the actual street pavement. There's no sight distance issues. And again, I think it's the way the street curves out and expands for that cul-de-sac bulb that's kind of creating the practical difficulty, making it pretty much impossible with complying with this 25-foot front setback unless you reconfigure the whole addition. And there's probably not a lot of room to do that, and at great expense. It may not be necessary. That's all I have. I just recommend that you review Section 154, 561C. Consider any other input you receive here tonight, which will probably be none, and take it from there.
No issue with the side setback there in that back corner?
No, I think it's at least 8 feet.
Oh, 8 feet for
Yes.
the PUDs?
Yes.
Thanks.
And so that is not a buildable lot next door? That's
Oh,
just,
no, no.
okay.
Yeah, you can see it does kind of connect back to the, there is a detention basin back there. I haven't looked at the civil plans in a while. There may be some drainage pipes, some utilities that run through that open space, but no, it's not a buildable lot.
Any other questions for Jeff? Okay, at this time, I will declare the public hearing open. This has already been put forth to our various agencies, police, fire, et cetera. So at this time, I will ask the applicants to come to the podium and state your name and address for the record and give us any additional information you'd like us to consider, please.
Jeff Douglas, 201 Birkdale Court.
Cheryl Thomas, same address, 201 Birkdale Court.
Okay. Any additional information you'd like us to consider or share?
The reason we are wanting to add the addition, it's for a single level for my mother to move in. She's living in the country alone now for about 2 years and just isn't doing well on her own. And we'd love to have her. So
And this would be a single level situation.
that would make it, she does not do steps well. Her current home has steps. We've looked at some other options for her home, and it's a little just too far. It would just be more convenient to have, I'm helping her with her finances, I'm helping her with her medications and different things like that. I'm a counselor, and I have a lot of resources and ways that I can, it just would make it easier for my life to have her there.
Understood. Very nice.
Yeah. So that's the reason. And who knows, one day we might need it for
Sure.
ourselves, because our bedroom's way upstairs.
Of course. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay, any questions for the applicant? Very nice. Thank you so much. Okay, any concluding remarks, Jeff? No? Any
No.
discussion amongst the board?
I think
Okay.
it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
I think
Neighbors
it-
don't seem to be concerned.
And I think that if it wasn't the cul-de-sac, they wouldn't even be here today because it would be straight through. Yeah.
Okay, if we can have a motion to close the public hearing, please.
Motion to close public hearing?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great, thank you very much. If there's no other additional comments or anything, if we can have a motion regarding the case, please.
I'll make a motion to pass BZ 25-003. for a variance of the front yard setback requirement in order to construct a 14 by 32 addition at a distance of approximately 17 feet from the front property line.
Terrific, thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Terry seconded. If we can have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Crowley?
Yes?
Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Mr. Hanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Horner? Yes. Ms. Narduzzi?
Yes, motion passes. Good luck to you. Sounds very nice. Okay, we do have another case this evening. However, the applicants do not seem to be present, so I think the protocol would be,
Well, I think what we can do, obviously no one showed up. I think we should hold the public hearing, but we can table action until the next meeting, which will be 21st. We do have one additional case, so.
so we will meet?
Yes,
Okay.
I have.
And that'll give you a chance to reach out to them and find out what
Yeah,
they're...
I'll find out. I sent them 2 emails and hadn't heard from either, but
Oh, okay.
since we've got it scheduled, I would just say let's hold it and kind of go over.
Understood.
Pardon
Okay.
me?
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so at this point, then, I will ask staff to give us the information regarding case BZ 25-002. This is a variance request to several provisions to the specific conditional requirements for the public storage uses at City Lot 6859 at Quadrille Drive. Whenever you're ready, Jeff.
Okay, so the applicant is in the process of developing a rental storage facility on a vacant lot located on the west side of Quadrille Drive. Planning Commission recently approved a conditional zoning certificate for the project, contingent upon the applicant getting several variances to certain provisions in the conditional zoning requirements. And I attached the specific requirements for these uses, but basically there's a couple provisions in 154, 546, B32 that the project doesn't comply with, and those are found in paragraphs I and J. First one, paragraph I says, building dimensions shall not exceed a length of 250 feet or a width of 40 feet. Paragraph J says, drive lanes shall be basically allow for one-way circulation throughout the site, have a drive lane of at least 15 feet in width, and parking lane at least 10 feet in width between the buildings. So in this particular case, we have anywhere from 5 to 6 buildings here, and I'll get into that in a minute. But in all cases, the buildings are 50 feet in width, and at least 2 of the buildings, and that's the 2 southernmost buildings, do exceed the 250 feet requirement. I think the one building here is 420 feet in length. The southernmost is 440 feet in length. I'd point out, though, that these 2 southernmost buildings are designed in such a way, let's go to this drawing here, and if you look real closely, you'll see why I question how many buildings there actually are. But the particular building plans do show that the 2 larger buildings are separated with a firewall, which in essence makes them 4 buildings. I'm not really sure what the conditional zoning provisions regarding the building length and width we're trying to prevent. The only thing I could come up with is that the excessively large structures might make it a little more difficult to provide fire and other safety services protections. But this project, as part of its design, they are going to install 3 new fire hydrants on the site. I don't know the exact locations. One is back here along the south property line. There's another one up near the entry to serve these areas of the building, and then a third one that would be basically here at the southwest corner of the 3rd building. So fire protection is not going to be an issue, especially when we couple it with the other variance which applies to the drive aisle widths and traffic flow. According to the code, okay, typically you need I can't remember what it said, 15-foot drive aisle width and a 10-foot parking lane. So basically, you have to have at least 25 feet of separation between buildings on the paved areas. In this particular case, the drive aisle widths are 55 feet in width, okay? Typical two-way traffic, 12-foot lanes in each direction, so you've got 24 feet plus 10 feet of parking on either side. We have more than enough room in this design to accommodate two-way traffic flow and potential parking on both sides. And I wish I had a color copy of this, but in front, the drive width is also 44 feet in width, so we've got room for turning and some parking here, but these all interconnect and all come back to one point of ingress egress. So again, this has been looked at by the fire department. They have no concerns with it. Their main thing was fire hydrants. Do we have access, or all parts of the building within 300 feet of a hydrant, which they are. So in short, I think the design of this particular site does address any concerns, any public safety concerns that would arise that might be part of those conditional zoning requirements. The one thing I do know, although the applicants aren't here, one of the reasons the buildings are 50 feet in width is that they are designed to hold campers, boats, RVs. Typically, they've said that they have other sites where they've had 40-foot buildings, and it's just really rather tight. So a 50-foot depth would give room for putting those vehicles in there and having room to store additional materials if needed. So I know that's going to be the rationale for why they want the 50-foot. But again, I've not really been able to come up with or find history as to any reason where these limitations to 250-foot building length and 40 feet in width came about. I'd also point out that, if you recall, not too long ago, there was a storage facility approved up on High Street. That building itself was like 300 or 400 feet in width, and it was designed, that it was all, instead of multiple buildings, all of the storage units were within one building. So
That was indoor
Those were
storage.
self-storage.
those were indoors, yeah.
Yeah.
Whole different.
Right.
These are designed that, yes, you can haul in boxes of your stuff or your furniture, but they're oversized, so if you have a boat or an RV that you need to store off-season, you can do it here.
And they're individual units.
They're individual, yes. I think they're just, I don't know if I have the floor plans here, but I believe that they were, here we go.
There you go.
12, 18, 19, 20. They're basically 20 by 50.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, you take off maybe 8 to 12 inches for the internal partitions. So that gives you about, 19 feet by 48, 49 feet of actual storage area. But going back to my initial concern, if you look at this particular drawing, the site plan associated with the building layouts, they are showing 3 buildings that exceed 250 feet. This building here in the middle is 300 feet in width. But looking at their engineering or civil site plan, that 300-foot building here is shown up as 2 separate buildings with some space in between to handle some drainage. I don't know which one is the most accurate, so that was one of the items I asked them to clarify for tonight's meeting. Haven't heard from them. Anyhow, those are the facts of the case. I think we need to hear from the applicant, just get some clarity, especially on this building, whether building 3 is 1 building or whether it's 2 buildings in building 3 or 4.
Now, if that were 2 buildings, the only question would be the 50-foot.
The 50-foot width.
Okay.
But like I said, I don't see
For that
any issues
portion,
with
but, yeah.
the 50-foot width to accommodate oversight, the indoor storage of those things, campers and
Well,
things.
in that area, I mean, it's high
Correct.
industrial, and there's already
Yeah.
a parcel out there that's just like this.
Yes, and the only other, and that's, yes, but that's owned by one utility repair company.
Right.
But on the other hand, the only places I'm aware of in town that do allow, that do have storage for campers, et cetera, boats, it's all outdoor storage.
Right.
Or just, it might be covered by a canopy, but not
Right,
four walls.
not contained.
So, yeah, there may be a market here for this.
The other storage facility, do they have as big of buildings as this?
I don't believe.
You mean the
I don't
north
believe
I
any
don't
of them
think
have.
Where it's
I don't
near?
think
Out there?
Got 50-foot.
I'm not sure. The place south of this is
They do.
basically,
Yeah.
it's a contractor storage yard, okay?
There's RVs out there.
Are there? Okay.
There's 40-foot RVs out there.
Okay.
I've been in them, so yeah.
Okay. Not aware of that,
Yeah.
but I know, or maybe you're talking, I believe Ebner has some space on their site.
Yes.
Yes, that's the one.
Yes.
But that's, I believe, all outdoors in a paved area,
Yeah.
correct? I'm aware of another.
Well, no,
site-
the one that I'm aware of behind Ebner is contained, similar to this, and it's specific for
Okay.
RVs and coaches.
And I think that actually got built years ago as an accessory structure for the
For
furnace
Epic,
factory.
so,
Which
yeah.
was not being used,
Yeah.
and they just converted the space.
Yeah.
So it never actually went through
Built.
an approval process for that
For that
specifically,
purpose.
because it was already built.
But my point is, there's one there, it's very suitable for what
Yeah.
is being stored there, and I've seen them to be able to get in and out of it with RVs and coaches, and
Yeah.
it's ample.
I do have two questions. The first bullet, building dimensions shall not exceed a length of 250 or a width of 40. So the ones that aren't 250 but are 50, is it one or the other, or it's both?
All buildings require a variance to the 40-foot maximum.
Okay, which probably shouldn't be or.
Two of the buildings require a variance to the length requirement.
Okay, and then
With a
this,
possible third,
Yeah.
depending on which site plan is correct.
okay.
and instead of
That's why, yeah, that's why,
Okay.
there should be and, probably. And then the second one, in the paragraph that says, that starts with, in the case of all 5 buildings, it says the southern 2 buildings have lengths that exceed 250, 420, 440 respectively. This was done in order to maintain the required 75-foot yard setback along Quadro Drive. So I don't understand what that means.
What that means is if they had made these buildings separate buildings, okay, you'd have to have a space between them, okay? That space would have caused the buildings to be shifted to the west and to the east.
Okay.
Right now, they've got it so that it's lined up with the 75-foot front
Oh,
yard.
I see,
okay?
I see, okay.
Separating them, they would have either had to lose 4 to, possibly 4 up to 6 storage units, or made them smaller. So to me, this makes sense. And to make one larger building with a firewall separation, to minimize the number of variances. So,
I mean, can I ask, I mean, it's probably more for the applicant. What is the hardship? Or is that an applicant question?
well, I think again, hardship's no longer a standard, it's practical difficulty. Practical difficulty I see would be that if they're designing these to store vehicles, 40 feet's a little tight. And so to me.
No, I'm not talking about I don't care about the 50, that makes sense. The 2, or the 420 and the 440
Yeah.
and the 300 seems excessive.
Well, I think the practical difficulty, in my opinion, there would be that we want to comply with the setbacks
More so.
more so than this. And to me, like I said, the zoning code treats this as one building, it treats this as one building. From a building code perspective, each of those is 2 buildings. That firewall makes them 2 separate buildings. So looking at it that way, you have 2 buildings that just share a party wall. you know.
210 and 220, yeah.
So I'm okay with that. To me, it meets the intent of some of the
The
building
code.
and zoning codes in terms of, you know, fire safety.
And that was the case, and
Right.
that's more likely the case, and you're saying that this has already gone before the fire department, the fire chief, and they've all signed
They've all
off.
looked at it and said, yeah. we
Their
don't-
concern was the hydrants, and that's
Right.
already been covered, okay.
So with the firewall separation, the excessively large drives, and again, the practical difficulty there is, again, if you're trying to store a boat or RV and back it up and into these spaces, I think you want as much pavement as possible. You wouldn't be able to get that, even if they kept the buildings the same size, you shrunk those driveways down to 24 to 30 feet, I think you're making it a lot more difficult. And so, to me, I think they're making the best out of this situation. Another thing that I'll address too is that another potential practical difficulty is kind of reflected on this page here. There's already a stormwater basin here in the northwest corner of the site. But the way this site was originally designed 20-some years ago, the high water mark of that basin is here, this orange line. So half the site is currently part of the detention basin. So as part of their plans, they're going to have to rework all of this, probably make the basin a little bit deeper and a little more steeper to move that basin over here in order to reclaim this land. So they've already let us know that, yeah, we've got a lot of grading and a lot of fill that we got to bring in to fix this. But
It's not where I want to
without
put
this,
my RV.
the site's pretty much not buildable under the existing topographic conditions. And
Pioneer flood that shows up every year.
so
Yeah.
I think this is probably another reason why this type of use is looking at this. They'll have to do filling, they're going to have to do grading, but to do that for pavement and a few buildings that we keep out of there, I think it makes more sense than a permanent type manufacturing or storage structure. Because to really to get this right, that could be a lot of investment.
Sure.
Jeff, has anybody looked at, what are they gonna do with water retention for all this roof area that they're now putting into the creek, and that's gonna send it down?
No, it's still gonna go here. That's why they're gonna have to redesign it. Yeah. So that's one of the things they were told to look at. I do believe this basin accounts for water runoff from a portion of Quadrille Drive, and I believe 2 of the lots on the east side of the street. It
So
probably is designed to pick up some water from this site, but again, when you see where the high water mark of the basin is,
Could be problematic.
yeah. So they're quite aware that, okay, guys, if you get this, you're gonna have to shift this way up here to keep all of your structures. Pavement, okay, the building structures themselves have to stay out of that, so.
Okay.
Read the fine print in the contract. Wow. Okay, any other questions?
So do we need to wait till we get clarification on that third building before doing anything?
No, I think we can close the public hearing. I don't expect anyone else is gonna show up at a second meeting. And then table action, we'll ask them to come back and explain their position and whether building 3 is one building or 2 separate ones.
We'll just hold our questions until then, obviously. Okay. All right, well, if we can have a motion to table BZ 25002 until our next meeting or until the applicants show up.
Why don't we have one to close the public hearing?
Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Yes, that's right.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, yep, good catch.
And a motion on BZ 25002 to table it until the next meeting scheduled for April 21.
I'll second.
Sounds good. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. We're going to table the action on this case till a future date, and you can invite them back to that meeting.
Yeah, okay. Like I said, yeah, I'm kind of surprised. Usually they're in touch with me, but
Who knows? Yeah,
haven't heard anything, so.
Okay.
I'll follow up with them tomorrow and let them know that I have to show up next meeting.
okay. If there is nothing further, we already know we have a meeting on April the 21st. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Good night.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.